This is Robert Heights.
This is Kelly Broom.
Together, we are the
Wandering Colonel.
C-130 rolling down the strip. C-130 rolling down the strip. Airborne daddy gonna take a little trip. Airborne daddy gonna take a little trip.
What's cooler than P-51?
Two P-51s.
Oh, that'd make it a P-102.
Or a P-82 and you just get a discount.
What?
No.
Not a P-82?
Nope.
It is a P-82. It's not a P-102?
It's not a P-102. They had
Air
the
Force.
the Century series.
Just the Air Force. You'll
jet
not be able to do
fighters.
math. I'm sorry, you were saying something?
The Air Force went to the Century fighters. Those were all Fs. The Century fighters. Those are all jets.
F-1000?
Those are not. That'd be a Millennium fighter. So you're thinking the Millennium Falcon.
This is not Star Wars.
Yes. This is not Star Wars. This
We
is
digress.
the.
We were talking about, is it called a twin Mustang?
It is a twin Mustang.
Then it should be a P-102.
That's not how you do government math. 1 + 1 may or may not equal 2. I just asked the VA.
Don't even get me started on the P. All right, we digress. We're here to talk about the twin Mustang, the P-82 Pursuit.
So the
It's not a pursuit fighter, it's a pursuit aircraft.
pursuit aircraft.
It is a thing. I know we're making fun here, but that does exist. We should wander over there and look at it.
We should. So what brought that about is, they're in that transition. So the end of World War II, the U.S. Air Force, at the time called the Army Air Forces, Army Air Corps, was meeting up with jets for the first time. The Me-262 and the rocket, the 163. And it was a very much eye-opening event.
Did you know the Japanese had a scaled-down version of the 282?
They brought parts over on a U-boat in the blueprints.
No. Anyway, sorry, we digress.
So
You were saying something about the North American
P-52 P-51
Oh, P-51.
became.
Not P-102.
They made based upon the P-51, they used a lot of the same thought process, but they didn't use the same engine.
Yeah,
the same power
not
plant.
very many parts. You would think if you have a P-82 that's twin Mustang, two Mustangs together, when you look at it, it looks like just two mated together. There were not a lot of interchangeable parts. They started with the same concept, as Colonel Broom said. But yeah, they kind of remade the whole thing.
And then they were trying to get to jets. They wanted to get to jets. So this was an interim aircraft that had lots of legs, could fly a long time, was very fast, solved some of the issues you have with fatigue if you're a solo flyer and you got to do all the navigating and all the flying and all the monitoring.
I feel like that airframe, doesn't it hold the record for the longest not in-flight refueled propeller-driven aircraft?
It is, it does. And it still holds that record.
What were we saying?
So the record for the longest propeller-driven non-refuelable bird was the P-82, just over 5,000 miles.
5,000 miles. Can you imagine being the solo pilot on a 5,000 mile flight? That's like further than Lindbergh, I imagine.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Tell us in the chat, how far did Lindbergh fly? But the point is, that's why they mated these two together.
5,000 miles. Took them. It was a pair. Took them just over 14 and a half hours, averaging just under 350 miles an hour. Yeah. And in metric, that's over 8,000 kilometers. But that's just.
Whoa! Back up the train there, boss. We don't do metric in this country. What are you doing?
Almost everything military is somehow measured in metric.
That's true.
So
we do metric in this country.
Yeah, we do metric when we're fighting people.
Do? We're not allowed to say do.
Yeah, crap. Yeah, you can say it. The challenge that you have is, and they never get into it, but there's little issues like body functions.
Right.
So I'm sure that they had the 40s equivalent of Ziploc bags.
With biological issues.
Yeah. And then they, I don't know, you could still roll your canopy back and
At altitude? I don't think so.
you come down a little bit.
It'd be a little chilly.
Only open it a little bit, freeze it, and throw it away.
I don't think you're dumping that bag till you get home.
No. But that's a long, long time to be sitting.
Long time.
And it's not like you can get out and stretch your legs.
Deep vein thrombosis was not a thing back then. Or maybe it was and we didn't know about it.
But
these are young guys. Us old people, we don't do that anymore.
no, I can't imagine.
Right?
I couldn't imagine. It's 14 hours. I couldn't drive for 14 hours since I
We
did
good? I think we need to get over to Lackland. Look at this thing.
Let's take a look.
Shall we?
Shall we?
Let's wander
go.
out. Taking my water.
This is the P-82E, the Echo model.
The twin Mustang.
Looks like they got happy with super glue.
That's right. Just
and
glued two together.
Well, not quite,
That's true.
but they tried.
Yep.
And
Yeah, you might think this is just two Mustangs because it's called the twin Mustang, but actually there's very few parts that are the same between this aircraft and the original Mustang, P-51 Mustang. So it's really just not two airplanes stuck together. Looks a lot alike though. Why'd they do this? Why'd they put this thing together?
they wanted longer range, and they wanted to reduce the amount of fatigue that the pilot had. So you have a pilot and a co-pilot / navigator.
Not a bombardier?
No bombardier. They
Darn it.
don't. I think they had a rocket pod they could put on it,
That's true, yeah.
but in reality, this is a P model, so that means it's a pursuit aircraft. So it's designed to pursue and shoot down enemy fighters. Very eclectic history. This is actually one of the last U.S. Army aircraft adopted. The Air Force didn't come about until 1947, and these were in the inventory in 1946. So it missed World War II, but it made its debut in the Korean War.
Did fly in Korea?
For combat.
Yeah.
It flew in combat.
I think this was the first airframe that shot down. I think one of the first kills in North Korea. Was,
first kills, and it's also
Twin
got holds the record for shooting down the first MiG. So it shot down jets with 2 props. So 2 American props beats 1 Russian jet every time.
All right, twice on Sunday. So powered. Did this thing have the Allison that the original Mustang had?
It had the Allison. It did not have the Merlin.
Merlin, that's right. That's
The
right. My bad.
Merlins were British. They and we did not want to pay for the licensing fee for the Merlin, so we switched over or back to the Allison engine. And with 2 Allison engines, it had lots of power. Still holds the record for the longest propeller flight.
So propeller flight, that means these guys right here, right? This is a propeller,
paddles.
not necessarily the engine type. Because these days, this was an internal combustion engine, piston driven. These days we still have propeller driven aircraft, C-130, probably the most famous of all, propeller driven aircraft still in the inventory today. But that is not driven by a piston engine, that's driven by a turbo, an actual, what's called a turbine engine, which we'll talk about later. That's a whole nother frago.
That's a totally different animal.
That's true.
We'll get into your skill set as a flight fixer-upper guy.
Sorry, I geek out on it. I'm an AP mechanic, so I geek out on these things.
So, interesting fact, this thing you can see right in here, it's got 6 painted dots. This would be where
Can't shoot through those. What's going on with that?
you'd have to have a 50 caliber barrel sticking out. We did not adopt the 20 millimeter cannon or anything of that nature until we started flying some of the later jets in the 50s. So this had 6 50 cals, which was not as many 50 cals as they mounted on the P-51. The max on the P-51, I believe, was 8 50 caliber machine guns. That's a lot of firepower.
And as Kelly said before, these are just painted in here because this is a static display. But typically, anytime you have something mounted in the wing, you're going to have the barrel come out because of the concussive forces on the outside of that muzzle. You want that outside of your airframe. That'll do damage. If it's happening inside the actual wing, it will do concussive damage to the structure of the airplane.
And you just spew all your brass and links, everything falls out the bottom.
Right at the bottom.
So the other piece to that little puzzle was because you're firing between the propellers, you don't even have to really worry about syncing up firing through the props. In World War I, we fired through the props. There was a little interrupter, so you fired bullets between your props. If the interrupter wasn't working, I guess you'd have a really bad day, shoot your own propeller off.
Jenny?
Probably.
What did you do a Frago and a Jenny? I want to find an existing Jenny. That's a whole nother Frago.
There's an artistic mock-up of one out of Brooks.
That works for me.
2 pilots, 1 co,
That's
1
true.
pilot.
Right.
The co-pilot was technically the navigator, responsible for getting you there and back. Pilot's in charge of the aircraft, makes the airborne decisions on speed and all that other good stuff.
But like, who's in charge, right? Is it the right guy or the left guy?
I am not sure who flew what, but I'm sure
that's a good question.
They had 100% controls from both sides.
They did. Both cockpits were 100% the same. You could fly from either one. Typically, the left seat is reserved for the pilot in command or the commander of the aircraft. But for this particular aircraft, the guy could sit, guy or gal, it's a guy back then, guy could sit in either one, really didn't matter. There wasn't really a pilot in command seat specified on this particular aircraft.
You probably, in order to get hours as pilot in command, you might switch around depending on how friendly you were with your co-pilot.
Left seat, right seat. Maybe in politics, when you lean left, lean right.
or maybe wait. So
let's wander around this way. I don't think he's got to get the whole aircraft in the.
So one thing you have to remember on these, they would set the engines up so that the propellers ran opposite directions. You didn't want both propellers turning the same way. The amount of torque would be overwhelming. So whenever you see dual prop aircraft or multi-prop aircraft, they do not rotate in the same direction. The amount of torque would just be overwhelming. So you've got port and starboard side on the aircraft, very much like a nautical situation. It's so that you know which side of the aircraft you're always talking about. If you're talking about a problem and you're on board an aircraft, you can be facing the rear and talk about the left side and confuse people, because if you're facing the rear, the left side may be somebody else's right side. So you always refer to aircraft and ship by port and starboard, forward and aft.
Those darn Navy guys brought their nautical terms into the aviation world.
They had to bring something. So as you can see, crew weight max 400 pounds. And that might be pushing it, because once you put on a parachute, and these guys all wore parachutes, you got 2 guys, you only got 400 pounds between 2 people, that's 200 pounds. So you didn't have a whole lot of what we euphemistically would call heavy drops flying these things. Plus it would be an exceptionally uncomfortable flight if you were a big guy in one of these aircraft.
Right. Can't hardly get up and walk to the back to the bathroom, to use the restroom.
So the aircraft holds a record over 2,000 miles in a single flight. Now that's unrefueled. These things were not in-flight refuelable. Whatever you took off with is what you flew with. Now they did have drop tanks, so you could put multiple drop tanks on, go further. But if you were flying in combat, you jettison your drop tanks the minute you made tally. Whenever you made
First contact
with
you get rid of the things that could be shot and blown up underneath you.
Yeah, and you.
I don't know if you can see it on camera or not, but some of these things, like little here, right here, there's a little indent or detent, and across over here, you can probably see it. It's painted black. These are not gun holes or anything like that. Those were probably lift points for back in the day when you needed to jack the aircraft. And down here, you can see these are all drain ports for the engine. It's in the underneath this or behind this nacelle.
So this does hold the esteemed position of the last aircraft brought into the inventory under the U.S. Army. A year later, the U.S. Air Force was born, 1947, and everything converted over to being in the U.S. Air Force. So these were, originally they called them Ps for pursuit. In the late 40s is when we started converting We dropped the P for pursuit, and we started up with F for fighter. So you have a P-51, you have the P-38, you have the P-47. Those are all pursuit aircraft whose primary mission would be fighting. However, the P-47, while it might have been a P-47, it was notoriously effective at a close air support, dropping bombs on targets, and could take an inordinate amount of punishment. It could take a licking and keep on sticking it to them.
Whole nother Frago.
Yes. Whole new Frago.
Whole new Frago. But that's an awesome airframe. I love it.
So you also see nose art. There's some nose art right here. Old 97. Not quite sure what old 97. It probably has something to do with Colonel Cy Wilson, whose name is painted on board on the side of the aircraft. Now that said, the Navy didn't do nose art by and large. It was against their rules. A lot of that had to do with the fact that in the Army Air Corps and in the Air Force, pilots were assigned to aircraft, whereas in the Navy, pilots could rotate which aircraft they were flying. You did not have a dedicated aircraft that you were technically assigned to.
Back in the day.
Definitely back in the day.
Yeah, nowadays that's
that's kind of gone now.
And nose art's definitely gone now. Nose art was very personalized back in the day. We're talking 50s, 60s.
Yeah. And
40s.
also rather risque. Back in World War II.
Could be. Some of them
risque.
could be. Right. So any of these still flying?
I believe there are a couple that are either being restored. Or
One that's still flying. There's one being restored.
Airborne.
Yeah, there's a couple being restored. There's one that's currently being restored. There's one that is currently flying today, privately owned. It's not part of a commemorative Air Force and or the actual Air Force. It's privately owned.
Yeah, the only Air Force I know that actually flies their historic aircraft internally is the UK. The UK flies Spitfires.
Cool.
The United States Air Force does not fly P-51s. They don't fly antiquated aircraft. It'd be real hard to budget for, hey, why are you flying a bird that's been out of the inventory and has no military value?
Recruiting, hello, historical purposes, education. There are many organizations in the United States that do, though. I mentioned one, Commemorative Air Force. That's typically the organization that flies Air Force related, and or I guess they do Navy Marines. The Army Aviation Heritage Foundation, you can find that online. They maintain and fly a fleet of Army related aircraft. Most famously the UH-1 Iroquois, the Bell Huey you hear talked about, and they fly Cobras. You see them at air shows and so on and so forth. But all those are privately, usually 501c3 organizations.
Because those things are exceptionally expensive to maintain and operate. I believe if you wanted to buy a P-51, it'd cost you $2 to $3 million on a good day. If you could get one off of either Craigslist or buy it on Facebook Marketplace.
All right, what else about this joy? So you see here the cage over the exhaust nacelles, and in the back, again, we got the Mohawk on the vertical stabilizer. Those have been added because this is a static display. Those were not part of the original copy or the flying model. If you go out and see the one of these that still is flying, he will not have the cage over his exhaust ports, and or he will not have the Mohawk on his vertical stabilizers. What else there?
So that's a 12-cylinder engine, right?
I believe so.
I see
yeah.
12 exhaust pipes.
In-line, interestingly enough. This is not like the old. So the older aircraft was called either a radial, or in predating that was a rotary, where the engine itself spun. The pistons were arranged in a circle around it, and even in your modern day cars these days, it's more of a V design. There are a few inlines, but this is inline. All the cylinders are lined up in a row.
So that means it had to be fuel injected, because if it wasn't fuel injected when you do a roll, you lose all your fuel and engine stops turning, and you have a series of aw crap moments. You do not want aw crap moments while in the air.
Because you crap upside down, then you're just turbocharged. I know the P-38 was this turbocharged?
It had to have been.
Okay. Because altitude. Yeah.
Yeah, because of the altitude. I think that's it.
And you see these,
That I know of.
again, this is a static display just like on other displays we've talked about. This would be open in the real model. This is closed off to keep birds from building nests and such in there, critters from making a home, because that's a cool, just ready-made setup for a home. But that's the air intake. That's the air would be scooped up here in this and then fed back up to the engine behind it. Same thing in the P-51 design. That's an air scoop to ram air, get the benefit of ram air, and it then is funneled back up to the engine that's ahead of it.
These were air cooled though, right?
They were air cooled, yeah.
I know not rotary, the P-47 was air cooled.
Yeah. Your radial engines will typically air cool. You can see them. They'd have big what's called jugs as the pistons, and they would have heat sinks or flanges that surrounded them. It looked like they were all wrinkly, and that would help dissipate the air. Actually, I feel like the Merlins were liquid cooled.
I think
the P-51 was air cooled. I think it was liquid cooled.
I think they're both. I think the P-51 and the P-82 were both air liquid
cooled, not air cooled. Liquid cooled. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Put in the chat down there if you feel like we misspoke or got something wrong. We're just out here chatting. We don't do a whole lot of research on these things. We just wander over and have a conversation about them. So there, correct us. Put it in the chat. Signing off.
Thanks. Hope to get you all to like and subscribe, and please send your comments and any information that you think you'd like to have us share. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you as we wander.
Sounds good.